Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Emily and my channel is completely devoted to everything memory keeping. So be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss my memory keeping videos. Today's layout is a 2-page spread with a little flip out about a golf vacation that we took, and I'm really excited to walk you through how I made it. So the shape of this flip out is actually the logo from the resort that we stayed at. And I just took that as a JPEG and imported it into Cricut Design Space. So I'm using a patterned paper that I've had in my stash for like 100 years. It's so pretty, but it's just one of those things I hadn't gotten around to using. And I'm using sort of the stencil or the negative to be this half page. So I knew I wanted it to fold out to be sort of the full logo. So to start out, I'm just making the half sheet where it will live. So I just adhered this onto a piece of white cardstock, and I didn't really measure because I just needed it to be at the halfway mark. So I'm just sort of lining it up with where the logo half point is and just trimming around that. So this is the back side of the little logo starburst design that's going to be my little page flip out thing with all my little photos on it. This tiny little page outline was kind of an accident. For some reason, my Cricut understood that it was supposed to cut this tiny little line around the shape. So I thought for a second maybe I would try to use it so it didn't go to waste, but ultimately I just kind of liked how it left a tiny bit of white space between where the shape outline and the rest of the page. The next step is to score it, and if you didn't know this, you can absolutely use your paper trimmer as a scoreboard if you don't have one. And scoring, of course, just kind of helps keep those clean lines clean and helps keep it closed. I'm going to be packing this full of photos, so I need all the help keeping it flat I can get. And then once I folded it in half, I realized it didn't 100% line up. So I'm just kind of cutting around the edges to make sure that when it's closed, you don't see the inner edge of the fold. Now to load this little flip out up with photos. So I just used my 4x6, my little Canon selfie printer, to print out a bunch of random photos from our trip. And I like to mix like pictures of scenery, pictures of food, plus like selfies that we've taken and some candids so that it's like a nice visual array of different photos. Although I did realize there was sort of an outsized number of selfies from this trip. My husband had been wanting to take a golf vacation for a super long time because he's always golfed, but I've sort of gotten into it a little bit in recent years. And so this was last year, and it was kind of in the height of lockdown, and it was our first time getting out. I thought, like, you know what, a golf course is a great place to remain socially distant, but still get out and have some fun. And the resort that we went to just made it so nice for us. They left a bottle of champagne in our room because I had mentioned it was his birthday, and the staff like signed a card saying happy birthday, and it was just like the weather was perfect. It's like in Central Oregon, so it's high desert climate, so even when it's cold, it's sunny and clear, which is not the case in the western part of the state. So it was just a great trip. One of those trips that, like, it's so great that you want to take so many photos. Like, my phone was pretty much in my hand the whole time because I had this feeling of, oh my goodness, I need to like document every minute of this. I think it was just a byproduct of being cooped up for so long. So here I am gluing on some strips of patterned paper. I wanted to sort of break up the monotony of just having photo after photo. And like I mentioned, this is a pad of patterned paper that's been in my stash for a really long time. So it was really nice to have a ton of prints that looked good together. So I just went through and cut a bunch of little rectangles from various patterns that I could pull from and just sort of intersperse among the photos. Things like this always take me a really long time because I like to just play around and say like, what looks good here? What looks good there? And so I move stuff around quite a bit. And the other thing I wanted to make really sure of is that I was working in 90-degree angles and that my photos didn't start to like drift down to the left side. So this part was a little bit, it took a little bit of time. Okay, so the inside of the flip is finally done, and the only thing left to do is just decorate the outside. I was just gonna leave it as pattern paper, but it was too much pattern, didn't look right, and I still had a bunch of photos that I still wanted to use, and it wasn't folding all the way over. As you can see, it's kind of lifting a bit. So I thought it would be beneficial to try to put some kind of heavy embellishment, like something metal or something heavy to keep it flat. So following the same exact process as before, just kind of moving stuff around, figuring out where I want it, and using my bone folder as a paperweight. So the flip part was done, and I decided that when it was on that pattern paper, it just looked a little busy. So I cut on my Cricut that logo with a thicker border with just white around it. So I thought I'd kind of offset it in a nice way and broke up the busyness of just a bunch of photos right next to a really busy pattern. It's still definitely a busy layout, but it definitely helped. So this is the flip all the way done. I put a metal brad right there to kind of hold that flip down. It still doesn't close perfectly, but I don't really care. So my plan was to just leave it like this, matched with this photo. But then I started to look at all of this sort of white space, really green space over in this lower left corner, and I thought this would be a great space for journaling. So I printed off my journaling onto inkjet vellum, and the name of the resort is Tetherow. And so I created a little word in Photoshop and ran that through my Cricut on white cardstock. And then to kind of tie the whole page together, I punched a circle out of the scrap paper from the little design we made. And then in order to adhere this down and not see the glue, I just put the glue on the back of that little word phrase and just where the vellum attached to other items so that you wouldn't see the glue. So definitely one downside of vellum is that the adhesive shows through the front side. And that is it. This is the finished spread. I was so happy with how it turned out, even though the flip doesn't close completely. It was such a fun way to use up a ton of photos that I really wanted to make sure that I had documented in my album. I hope you guys liked this video. Please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.